you geeks! This video has been a long time coming. The Stormlight archive raises many fascinating philosophical questions, which I'm somewhat qualified to answer.
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
These skills are well suited to addressing the ethics of the eminence of the Skybreakers. Spoiler warning through Oathbringer. When Nale said, "Who has jurisdiction over this land?" Zeth son Nituro. The original masters of this land have returned, as you have so aptly made metaphor, with the keys to the house. I got excited. Does having the right to the land grant the holder the right to rule, as Nale argues, whether they be good, bad, undead, or insane? Can anyone's claim to land really be absolute? Does owning any property, real or portable, justify a system of government?
You can't expect to wield supreme executive power just because some watery tart threw a sword at you.
Now, I'm not a Skybreaker. It was a close call, but ultimately, I can't hold the law of man as my moral code. So I chose Windrunner. 7 years as a Boy Scout lifeguard may have permanently marked my skin and my character. I'm also invasive to the Americas. I'm not a member of a federally recognized tribe.
I'm nerdy in the extreme and whiter than sour cream.
But I did work for a band of Ojibwe and have done more to expand their jurisdiction than Nale will do in any desolation. There are definite analogies between the plight of the singers and Native Americans. But this analogy is limited. This video isn't a nitty-gritty examination of Indian law. It is an exploration of the justice of jurisdiction. Who takes eminence, the land or the living? Both are important, but which comes first? Domain. We first hear about the troublesome question of eminence in Words of Radiance. That discovery of some wicked thing of eminence, whether it be some rogueries among the Radiant's adherents or of some external origin, they responded immediately and with great consternation. These were primary among those who would forswear and abandon their oaths. Originally, I suspected that the wicked thing of eminence was some sort of Spanish Inquisition, because your eminence is the correct address for a Catholic cardinal. But there is another type of eminence, eminent domain, and it can be very wicked indeed. What is eminent domain? I'll let Nale explain. The city lord controls his lands until the high lord in turn comes to him for payment. But the high lord must answer to his high prince when war is called in his lands. And the king, he must answer to God. When eminent domain is invoked, it can hardly seem fair.
After a lifetime, piece of paper and get thee out.
The fused have a claim to the lands by right of being first, or rather the last of the first. Nale accepts the jurisdiction of the fused because they hold the right of eminent domain. He says this is singer law, but what justifies fused rule over the singers? Some fused may say they want to give the land to the new singers, but they also want to destroy humans and don't really care what the new singers want. You must seize vengeance, little ones. You must earn your passion. Qualify yourselves for greater service and you will be elevated to the place of a regal, given a form of power. This land was yours long ago, before they stole it. You have been trained to be docile. We will teach you to be strong again. Nale doesn't take any of these considerations into account. He justifies fused rule by the right of conquest, not only of land, but of divinity. A god is dead. Another won the war by right of conquest. The original masters of this land have returned with the keys to the house. If taking the land by conquest is bad, then surely taking godhood is worse. Is Odium's conquest just because he won? Was humanity's conquest unjust because honor lost? Is any conquest justified? Does one conquest justify another?
An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
Or will that leave the whole world blind, toothless, and dead? Nale's instinct that the singers have a right to the land isn't wrong.
But you know, Even a good decision, if made for the wrong reasons, can be a wrong decision.
But his single-minded insistence on jurisdiction via eminent domain causes problems. He ignores all other scruples, including the first ideal of the Knights Radiant, life before death. Justice must serve the living. The idiots. Of all the persons I expected to talk sense during Oathbringer, I never would have suspected
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Sword Nimi. Now, the undisputed best sword of justice in the Cosmere. Rightful? Who has a right to land? Humans are always claiming things, but nobody asked the things, now do they? Didn't you tell me you spent 1,000 years following the instructions of a rock? More than 7 years, Sword Nimi. And I didn't follow the rock, but the words of the one who held it. Both Szeth and Rlain realize that the land does not care who governs it. It will endure. Rlain sat here, outside Narak, watching humans build a fortress from what used to be his home. He was not offended. His own people had repurposed the ruins of Stormseed into Narak. No doubt these stately ruins would outlast the Alethi occupation, as they had the listeners. That knowledge did not prevent him from mourning. His people were gone now. The land does not care about justice, but the people do.
What has the galaxy ever done for you? Why would you want to save it? Because I'm one of the idiots who lives in it!
The law, like all oaths, is for the living. The Fused may have been the original owners of the house, but they are dead. Long dead. 9 desolations plus 4,000 years, dead. If that isn't long enough for human beings to establish adverse possession, then I don't know what is. What is adverse possession? It's squatters' rights. Rights that Kaladin touches on. What if the people you killed were only trying to get back what was rightfully theirs? It got so complicated. Humans had lived upon this land for thousands of years. Could anyone really be expected to let go because of what ancient people had done, no matter how dishonorable their actions? Thus, humans also have a just claim for the land, not only because they live, but have lived on Roshar for quite some time. But their claim does not nullify the rights of the singers who still live. So, a just ruler is one whom both sides can agree to mediate their claims and unite their desperate desires.
Authority should derive from the consent of the governed, not from the threat of force.
Now Roshar has not had Scadrial's pseudo-enlightenment, and only a stupid fantasy series would suggest pure democracy without laying down a philosophical basis for it. Dalinar's new Radiance can work towards a type of justice in an idealized medieval sort of way. A way of kings. A way de regno. A king is one who rules the people of one city or province, and rules them for the common good. Where there are many men together, each one is looking after his own interest. The multitude would be broken up and scattered. If, therefore, a multitude of free men is ordered by the ruler towards the common good, that rule will be right and just. Skybreaker oaths are set up to pursue justice, not merely, as Nale has interpreted, to blindly follow the rule of law. Szeth can choose to swear his third ideal, not to Nale, but to Dalinar, in pursuit of justice, because justice is bigger than the rule of law.
You speak of justice, yet you are cruel to those most in need of your help.
Silence!
Justice!
Dalinar by birth has no right to land or crown, yet he cares for what is right for all persons. Maybe that dart was for Dalinar himself. Taravangian said that a king was justified in doing terrible things in the name of the state. But Dalinar, for once, he'd assumed what he was doing was right. Therefore, Dalinar's jurisdiction is justified by those who consent to his rule. Nale's choice to give land eminence over the living denies justice to all the humans of Roshar. Dalinar's choice to give eminence to the living makes it possible to work towards a just settlement of the land. That is why it is just to reject the eminence of Skybreakers. If justice for indigenous peoples interests you, remember, most tribes in the US make their living from casinos, which have been closed due to plague. Now would be a great time to support your local tribe in whatever way you see fit.